My 24F boyfriend, 26M, of 6 months told me that I need to unlove the men from my past before I can love him. I've been dating Mark for 6 months and have known him for around 8 months. I just moved to my current city 9 months ago for grad school, and Mark was one of the first people that I become close with. He's been really great and helped me feel comfortable in a new city. Recently, Mark and I said I love you for the first time. Everything was fine for a while until he told me that I was the first person he's ever said that to. I was a little surprised, but not in a bad way, and didn't really make a big deal of it. He asked me how many other guys I've said it to. I told him one. That seemed to bother him. Mark knows that I'm still occasionally in contact with one of my exes, Eli, and it has never been an issue for Mark. However, after our conversation, Mark asked me if Eli was the ex that I had said I love you to. I was honest and said yes. Background: Eli and I grew up together and dated from when we were 15 to 22. We broke up when I got accepted to grad school and found out I'd have to move across the country, because we realized that we had grown into different people and weren't going to spend our lives together. The breakup was extremely amicable and we remained close friends while I was town before I moved, and we talk maybe once a week currently, just basic "how are you" texts. Mark asked me how I feel about Eli now. I said that while I don't love him romantically anymore, he was a huge part of my life since childhood, and I still have very positive feelings about him and consider him an important person. Mark kept pressing, asking me if I still love Eli in any sense. I said that no, I am not in love with him, but Mark almost didn't seem to believe me. He kept prodding me until I finally said that I will probably always love Eli as a person and respect him a lot, but that I have no romantic connection to him and fully accept that we are different people now. Mark was upset by this. The next day, Mark told me that he doesn't think that I can truly love him unless I learn to unlove the men from my past. I asked what he meant and again clarified that I am not in love with Eli, and he said that I should retain no love in any form for any other guys I've been with. I was, quite honestly, shocked and tried to explain to him that me loving someone as a friend is totally and completely different than being romantically in love with someone, and that he is the only one I have those feelings for. He insisted that I need to change my feelings about Eli. He almost seemed mad that I'm not resentful over the breakup. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Is this totally weird and out of line, or am I overreacting? Just to be clear, Eli and I talk very sparingly. Probably 10 texts a week, if that, just to check in. I have no feelings for him anymore. But he was a huge part of my life for many, many years, and I don't think it's unreasonable for me to have generally positive feelings for him. Is Mark out of line, or am I? Edit, just for context, since people are hung up on 10 texts a week. Mark and I easily exchange 50 to 100 texts a day. And we see each other multiple times a week. So I consider 10 texts to be a brief conversation. It's a very surface level "how are you? How's work?" type thing. It's not in depth. TLDR, boyfriend says I have to unlove my ex before I can love him. I clarify that I love and respect my ex as a person, but have no romantic love for him. Boyfriend is deeply upset. Who's being unreasonable? Update. Figured I'd update my post from about a month ago. Unfortunately, there wasn't a happy ending, but I am very grateful for a lot of the advice I received here. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me keep my head on straight. After I made my first post, I read all the comments and thought about everything for a few days. A lot of people mentioned that they would not be comfortable with the frequency of my communication with my ex. I thought that was very fair. People also mentioned that Mark's behavior was pretty controlling and not okay. I also thought that was fair. I went to talk to Mark and told him that I understood if he was uncomfortable with me being in touch with Eli weekly, and that I would be totally willing to cut that down. I also reiterated again that I was not currently in love with Eli and hadn't been for a while. Mark was understanding this time and seemed happy with the fact that I offered to cut down my contact with Eli. But then I told Mark that although I was willing to do this, I wasn't happy with how he approached the issue and that I found his behavior controlling. I basically told him that I want him to approach issues in a more rational way and I would appreciate if he opened a dialogue rather than just telling me what to do, and that I wouldn't put up with him trying to command me to do something, especially something so ridiculous. I said everything in the same tone as I used for the first half of the conversation. I wasn't yelling at him or admonishing him, just trying to let him know where my boundaries are. You guys, Mark, flew off the handle. He started screaming at me. I obviously wasn't having it, so I got up to leave. He started throwing dishes and random kitchen items at me, and grabbed me and slammed my head into the door jamb. I ended up with a nasty black eye and a busted lip. Luckily for me, a neighbor heard the commotion and called the cops. Mark was arrested and I was taken to the hospital. Yes, I'm pressing charges and filed for a restraining order. Overall, it was a horrible incident, but I'm glad this happened earlier in the relationship rather than later. And I am forever grateful for the neighbor who called the cops. I'm also grateful to most of you guys for telling me that I wasn't being insane in my first post and for pointing out the early warning signs. It wasn't the best ending, but I'm okay and I'm just glad it's over. Take this as a cautionary tale, I guess. TLDR, tried to have a rational conversation with Mark. He gave me a black eye and busted lip. It's over, thank God. Edit, I've gotten a lot of concerned messages, which I appreciate, telling me to watch out for Mark now and that abusers are often at their most dangerous right after a breakup. Just to ease everyone's mind, I'm staying with a classmate, who Mark does not know, for the time being, so I'm well protected. Thanks everyone.